Did you know that crocheting began in the late 16th century? According to Jody Morgan from crochetpenguin.com, crocheting began in the late 16th century in North America before it began to spread to Europe. So crocheting has been a hobby that I've been doing for about 6 to 7 months now. I did enjoy crocheting sometime before I actually began. I liked to watch the videos. However, I was nervous to kind of pick up a new hobby. So I asked for Christmas for the materials that I would need to begin crocheting, because I knew I would be more intrigued to begin trying if somebody else had spent their money for me to pursue a craft, because I wouldn't want to feel like I was wasting somebody else's hard-earned money. So when I was ready to begin, I watched a video by Play Hooky with Me on YouTube, and she showed me all of the steps that I would need to follow to be able to create a chunky blanket by hand. So today I'm going to show you all of the materials that you will need, as well as the steps for starting and finishing your blanket. So as far as materials that you will need, I like to use this chunky blanket. So this is chenille yarn, and I like the Great Value one just because I think it's a little bit softer. But you could use Yarn Bee, for example, or other brands that you can find at the craft store. And then the only other materials you'll need are your hands. You won't need any crochet hooks to make this blanket. So the hardest part about making a blanket is doing the starting loop. So what you do is kind of take the end here in your hand, wrap it around your fingers, and then you're going to pull this end through that loop here. And then you'll kind of just pull it to about however big you want this loop to be. The bigger you make this loop, the looser your blanket is going to be. If you make it tighter, the more yarn you're going to need to finish your blanket. So it's totally up to you how long you want your blanket to be. I typically do about 20 to 30 chains just because I like to make them more toddler sized for my own children as well as some of my friends' children. So as you begin to kind of crochet, what you do is you take your loop and you pull through the end that's connected to the yarn ball, and then it kind of creates this little circle, and you just keep going until you get as many chains as you would like. So I'm just going to do a couple here for you, and then when you get to the amount of chains that you'd like before you're ready to stop, you'll kind of put the yarn in front of you going upwards, and you'll pull the yarn through again as well, just how you were before, except now you kind of want the chain to be on top. And then this next step to continue for the second row is a little bit harder. So you do pull through the chains that you've created on the bottom here to make that second row. And you just continue that all the way across the chain that you've created. And then when you get to the top, you'll do the same thing. Pull the yarn in front of you. So just do a couple. So it can be kind of hard when you're not using a table. I do like to typically crochet on a flat surface just to kind of keep my materials going the way that I would like. And then when you want to start your third row, same thing, yarn in front of you and pull from the top. And now that you have your second row finished, you would use those loops to make your third row and pull yarn through the top rather than going from the bottom. And then when you're ready to finish your blanket, just make your loops double the size that they were before, just because you are going to use that to close off your blanket. So for example, to close it off, you're going to take your loop and pull over the other one. Again, you're going to take this loop and pull over the other one until you get to the very end, in which case you would take your end piece of yarn, which would just be this, it wouldn't be attached to the ball here, and you're going to sew it to the side of your blanket. And when you're all finished, your blanket will look like this one. So this one's rather large, but that is how you would handcraft a blanket. So now that you know all the materials and the steps to follow to create your own chunky blanket, I hope that you do so, and that you create your own blanket by hand. That way you can feel a little bit relieved of stress and a sense of accomplishment once you've created your blanket. I know that I have created blankets for several people, and I just enjoy seeing the joy on their face when they see that blanket, and I know how many great memories that they will make with this new blanket.